All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Zoom Basics. Your presenter today will be Jane Faith Calhoun, formerly Jane Showerman. And she will be telling us a little bit about Zoom and how to use the basic free version. I'll be moderating her webinar today. Before she gets started, please note the chat box on the right side of the screen. Actually, I think if I point that way, it's the right way for y'all. But if you have any questions, use the chat to communicate with us. Faith can't see it, or I'm sorry, Jane can't see it, but I'll read out any questions you guys have for her. And then if you at any point want permission to share your audio or video, just let us know. I think most of our questions we'll be doing through chat today. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jane.
Thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate it. So as Emily said, we're going to look at some Zoom basics. And before we get started, I wanted to just introduce myself to you all. So I know it's confusing. Some of you who may remember me from some previous work in adult education field, because I've been in the field for 12 years, might know me as Faith Showerman. Well, my name has changed, so I'm now Jane Faith Calhoun, and I'm switching to just Jane Calhoun. So it is still I, and I'm glad to be here. So a little bit about me is that I've been a trainer with formerly DELT, now New Mexico Distance Learning Support Team for adult education in the state. And I'm also a full-time research lecturer at the University of New Mexico, Taos. I teach mathematics in that department as well as for the Taos Education and Career Center students that are seeking their HSE credentials. I've earned my Master's of Arts in Education at NMSU, and that was a focus on curriculum and instruction and learning design and technology. And I just recently completed a graduate certificate in mathematics at WNMU, Western New Mexico University. And with all of that learning, my main goal is to utilize technology to support the teaching of adults, and that what that does is offer access to education for all students. So I look at what we do in adult education as a form of social justice. So I would love to, now that I've shared a little bit about myself, to hear who is here. As Emily said, we see how many people are here, but we can't see who you are. So if you would let us know who you are and what program you're working for in the chat, that would be great. And Emily, you can give a few shout outs if you'd like. Emily, I think you might be muted, or at least I can't hear you anymore.
Muted myself and have feedback.
Oh, it's okay.
We have a few of my instructors that work, or that are my colleagues from ACE. We have Ron Salazar. He works in Albuquerque for ACE. We have Wendy Brown on the call. And then we also have Eva. Oh, I don't want to try your last name and mess it up, but I'm going to say Ruvano, and Bonnie Martinez and Annalie Herrera. I'm not sure what program they're from. We've got Mary DeBose from Santa Fe. She works with the literacy volunteers at Santa Fe Community College.
Great.
Jacinta Seiss, who's our ACE instructor, or she works at UNM Gallup.
Mm-hmm. So Eva, some of the names I remember. This is good. This is very good. Well, welcome to everybody. I'm glad you're here. Before we get too far into it here, I want to make sure we go over our session objectives. And to be very transparent with you about these, we're going to just look at basically what Zoom is, how to sign up for the basic free account, how to schedule and host a meeting, how to manage participants in a meeting, a brief settings overview, because there's quite a bit of those, which you'll see if you haven't seen those already, how to record a session, and if time allows, because we only have 40 minutes, how to upload that video to YouTube, or at least show you how I've done that in the past. So what I'm going to ask you before we lose too much time into this session, or use too much time into this session, is how do you feel about Zoom? So go ahead, if you will, and enter into the chat your level of comfort with Zoom. A, if you have complete comfort with the program. B, if maybe you have an account and have joined a meeting or two, but haven't really used it for your own educational use. And C, if you don't even have an account yet.
And so the answers coming in so far, we've got an A, we've got a love it, we've got a string of Bs. Okay. We have some lowercase and some uppercase. I don't know if uppercase is like a more.
Like a bold.
A minuses.
We're such educators. Look at that. That's adorable. Okay, so it seems like we have a good amount of B's. So what I really want to say is if you are an A, if you have created and hosted accounts, if you know how to record, if you've been working in this before, I want to be very transparent and say that you should probably find another option for the session. It really is the basics about how to get yourself an account, how to do some basic joining and creating meetings for your students and your colleagues and family, maybe even. Also, the other thing I want to be transparent about is that I am a professor, as I said, at University of New Mexico, Taos, and we have access to the licensed version. So I do have a greater level of experience with that. And what I focused on in this particular session is about the basic, the free account, because I understand that not every program has access to the licensed versions. So I wouldn't be offended if you feel like I really don't need the basics and you want to go and check out one of these other wonderful sessions. And I just wanted to start off with that before you lost a lot of time. But those of you that stick around, let's keep going. And I'm so glad to have you here. So what is Zoom? Zoom, as it says, is a virtual conferencing tool, and users can join using either their desktops, their laptops, Chromebooks, or either an Android or an iOS device, any kind of smartphone. So it's an extremely versatile way of having the conferences, just like we're doing now for our Teachers Institute. And when I talked about the fact that I have the Pro version is actually the one that I've been provided, there are some differences that I've learned in creating this presentation, because originally I had it in my mind I was going to do the Pro, and I said, oh, I got to learn about the free too, which was good for all of us, hopefully. So the free version, there's some differences, and here's just a short little slide on those differences. There's unlimited time when you have the Pro version with no matter how many participants you have, where in the free version, it's unlimited if you're just with one other person. So the moment you have 3 or more people in the Zoom room, you are limited to a 40-minute session. On the free version, you can record to your actual device, to your hard drive, or to a folder in your computer. But in the licensed version, you can record not only to your hard drive, but also to a cloud account. So it actually keeps that recording in the cloud. When you have the free account, there is no transcripts provided. So you can't get the closed captioning that we sometimes need for our students with ADA accommodations. And that is provided in an option for the licensed account. And the last thing that I'll mention, I'm sure there's other differences here, but the passcode is required as a default choice for the free version, whereas it's an option for the Pro account. And I mentioned that because you may have heard in the news some things called Zoom bombing, right? So sometimes it's actually desirable to have a password required because you don't want people in your room that aren't invited there to causing some trouble and being mischievous. So the other side of that is some of our students are struggling with technology, and having that extra layer can be prohibitive to them getting in. They get confused when there's too many things and too many hoops to jump through. So that was some of the basic differences I saw. So now we're going to go ahead and look at how we sign up for Zoom. So it might be challenging for you to do both at the same time. Emily and I kind of talked about this in our rehearsal. If you feel like following along with this and you can do that side by side, if you have 2 screens or something, please feel free. But we know that this is going to be recorded and you can come back and watch it step by step, or take notes now and do this again later. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the actual application itself. And when you go to sign in, you go to zoom.us, and you'll see on the top right here, it says, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit, zoom into Zoom, and you can sign up. It's free. So you're going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to ask you for your date of birth.
I'm going to pause you real quick. We're still stuck on your Zoom slide. We're not seeing your, it didn't follow your screen to the Zoom website.
Okay. Well, then that didn't work like last time, and that's unfortunate, but we can fix it. Let me try this. How's that? Does that look right?
We can see it.
Okay. So going back, this is what I was originally pointing at. This is what you're going to see when you first, thank you, Emily, for that. This is what you're going to see when you first go to zoom.us. and you're going to sign up. It's free, and that's where you want to go ahead and log in. It's going to ask you for your verification of your date of birth. I had arbitrarily done this and picked something that wasn't real. If you're too young, it won't give you an account, just so you know. I figured that out the hard way. So you want to go ahead and fill this out. I'm not going to go through all of this because when I did it, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to ask you for your email address and your name, and you're going to make a password up. So assuming that you can go step by step through that, and hopefully that's not an issue for you, I'm going to just say, get to this page and follow the instructions, and you will have your very own free Zoom Basic account. So what I'm going to do to show you how to use it and what it looks like inside is I'm going to sign into my account. That is my free version. See if it's letting me do it here. Yay for CAPTCHA, but yuck for CAPTCHA, but we're going to go ahead and do that in there. And now we are in what, I'm going to go to the profile page and start here, but this is what you're going to see when you log in. So this is the profile page, and I have, as you can see, added a silly little photo of myself. So I just want to start off by saying on your profile page, you can actually adjust and add and upload here any photo that you want. Now, the advantage of adding a photo is if you choose not to use your webcam or video camera on your meeting, you'll have an image that shows your picture there. So it won't just be a black screen with your name. So I highly recommend when you create your account, you put an image there, and it's a way to kind of give yourself a face to students that maybe haven't met you face to face because of the pandemic. So doing that is relatively straightforward. The other things that you can see on this page is the personal meeting ID. And everybody has this unique to themselves, randomly and automatically generated. So anytime that you are having a meeting in your own room, which we're going to look at in a little bit, this would be the meeting ID that you'd want to give your participants. Another way that you can invite people is with this link. Again, we're going to look at that a little bit more detailed later. So it does show on this page what email I use to sign up with, that I have a basic account. And here it talks about the meeting limitations. There's a maximum capacity of 100 participants in the free version. That's actually the same on the paid version. But just so you know, that's what that's talking about. You can choose to have this in another language if English is not your first language. I really like when programs allow for that. And if you are traveling because the pandemic and COVID has allowed you to work from home and you decided to go somewhere else, maybe you're in a different time zone, and you can go ahead and adjust that as well. Okay. So that's all I really want to show about the profile page. The meat of this program really lies here in the meetings tab. All right, so before we go here into the meetings, because I'm going to talk about all four of these tabs, the upcoming meetings, previous, the personal room, and the meeting templates. Emily, is there anything in the chat I need to know about? I kind of see you typing, and I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Kind of peeked at you.
We do not have any questions. Did anyone have any questions before she moves on?
No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll keep going here. So we've got these four tabs at the top of our meetings area. And you can see that I've kind of been playing with this for the presentation. So I show that I have some scheduled meetings that are upcoming, my test meetings, and you could see that it's kind of recurring. So I wanted to start off by showing you this here. If I click on one of my pre-scheduled meetings, you can kind of see what that will look like. I've given it a name. I'm going to show you how to do this in a moment. And I've given you, here's the description. And I've made it recurring. So you can do that. If you know you're going to have a regular meeting every week, or in lots of our cases, a class that meets once or twice a week, you can reschedule it and have it pre-programmed and ready to go in your Zoom account. And here's where you can see the meeting ID. And if there's a password, it's going to show it here. So you can always grab your link to invite people from here. And here's some settings that I'm going to show you. So I just wanted to show you this is what it looks like if it's already programmed. So if we go back, how do we create and schedule a meeting so that it populates that area that you're looking at just now? Right here, you see a schedule meeting option. So I'm going to go in and show you how I created the ones that you just saw. So in my schedule meeting, I get to name it. So there you go. We are naming it, and you can describe any information you like. And you get to say when it is going to be. Okay, so you get to schedule your meeting. Say, I want to start this one at 2 o'clock. So here is where if you had a pro account, you could actually decide how long that meeting is going to be for. But because we're in the basic, it gives you this little box that tells you that there's going to be a 40-minute limit. Now, for those of you who have been in any of the free version meetings already, you probably have experienced that 2-minute warning that you get towards the end. I think everybody starts getting, at least the host gets warned that it's about to end. And it ends quite abruptly if you're not paying attention to that. So definitely keep a timer on and pay attention to how much time has passed when you're in that meeting. So it gives you a chance to talk about the time zone. And here's where you can choose to make a recurring meeting. You can have the recurrence be every day. You can have it be weekly, monthly, or no fixed time. So maybe you want it just to have an open meeting that you can pop in whenever you want. So if you choose to do it weekly, you get to pick what day of the week and when it will end, after how many occurrences perhaps, or by a date in particular. And then here, this part I really like, because I actually had never really explored this in the pro version. So this was a new discovery for me that maybe some of you even have some experience, are excited to see. You can change your passcode. And I actually really like that, because I don't really want to have to tell my students EIVQ5K. Maybe I want to say something like, meet with me. And then I know that for my meeting with my students, I have a passcode of meet with me. Or maybe you want to call it, I teach mathematics, as I said. Maybe I know this is my class meeting for my Math 100 course. So I can name that, be my passcode. And then the students in my class can have that, and it's much easier to remember. So a couple of the other settings you can already preset in your schedule a meeting area is to decide whether or not you want your video to start on automatically and you want your participant videos to start on automatically or off. The default is off, and I tend to like it like that, in particular for our students that might be having issues at home. There's been some great research articles shared in our field about why students might be choosing to keep their cameras off. So just for that sensitivity level, I tend to leave them off, but that is an individual instructor choice. The other last three settings in this particular area is meeting options. So you can enable that you join before host, mute participants upon entry, or automatically record the meeting on the local computer. So if you're going to enable them to join before host, that means if you're a few minutes late and they're early, they actually get to hang out in the Zoom room. I actually like that, so there's not a restriction. Some teachers actually prefer to have them be in what's called a waiting room, and therefore they're kind of waiting until you allow them to enter and you permit that. Muting participants upon entry is a really good idea, because some of our students might have a lot of family members around, or animals or children that have that noise, and that way they can be told how to unmute themselves when they're about to start participating in a class. And then if you are recording these meetings to later upload into Google Classroom for people that might have been missing, or onto a website that you've created, a Google site, or however you're sharing those with your class, if you're worried you might forget, this is a great one to choose as well. So you set your settings, and then you go ahead and you've created the meeting. When we go back to meetings now, it's now in my upcoming meeting. So whenever I'm ready to start that, I can go ahead and press start here as one way, or I can choose to start it in here as well. All right, so that's how you're going to schedule a meeting. Time goes so fast in these presentations, so I'm going to keep moving forward. So the previous meetings will give you a list of any meetings that you've had. So if you want to go back and reference the dates and times that those were available and take a look at them, they're available in this tab. The personal meeting room is probably the one that I use the most as an instructor. So before I go on with this, I just want to point out a very important part. I showed you how to schedule a meeting. I'm going to next show you how to host one too. But before I do that, most of us really are invited to meetings quite a bit. So I want to show you how you join a meeting. If I sent someone this particular meeting ID in a text, a Google chat, a Hangout, an email, and I want them to join my meeting, I expect them to copy it. And then they're going to go here to join a meeting. And what that looks like, can you still see that, Emily? Okay. So what that looks like is it'll ask you for the meeting ID. This is where you go ahead and paste it and join. So I'm not going to do that because we're already in a meeting here, but that's how you're going to join any meeting that someone gives you if they give you the meeting ID. So I just wanted to make sure to cover that. Okay. If there's any questions, please ask them at any time to Emily and she can interrupt me and let me know. So the personal room is where I go to start my personal meetings. And there's two ways you can do that. You can, right here in my personal room, I can press start and then it'll start a meeting. The other way is to go up here and choose host a meeting. So you can join a meeting here and you can host a meeting up here as well. When you host the meeting, this is important. When you host a meeting, it's not one of the previously scheduled ones. It's happening in your Zoom personal room with this meeting ID and this invite link. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you use this button, you can choose video on, video off, or screen share only, but it is this ID that you get. So I'm going to go ahead and start a meeting. See if this works too. A meeting within a meeting. Okay. Now I'm seeing that it's not sharing on your end. So let me go ahead and try this one more time.
We saw the prompt, just not the app.
Okay. Wonder if it'll work. How's that? So now you get to see me twice. Okay. And you can see all the controls on the bottom here?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, goodness. That's a good thing to hear. Okay. So let's see if we can talk about this in the next, we have 18 minutes. We can probably get a lot done in 18 minutes. So when we look at the personal room, we're in a Zoom room. So this is what it's going to look like. And I want to just make sure you understand the basic controls that you see on the bottom over here. So let me see, right? This is where now they went away because my mouse isn't on them. So here is where you control your microphone. So it's a very good idea to make sure your students know this as well, and that you know this, that generally, unless you're speaking, you probably want to be muted because we're all in different environments. Sometimes it's not as quiet as we even need for our own work situation. So you can go ahead and mute. Go ahead and unmute. I believe, I'm just going to try it. I think you can, in the Pro, you can actually click the space bar and it mutes you. I was trying to show you that, but it wasn't working. So this is where you get to control your audio. When you first work with students who have maybe joined your class for the first time in a Zoom, you may want to, is it showing the controls? You're muted, Emily. I'm sorry, dear.
It's blocking the mute. If you can move your Zoom screen up, like maybe half an inch.
I don't think it's working. So again, technology is super fun. When Emily and I practiced this yesterday and I shared the screen, it actually could see everything I'm doing. I'm going to try something, Emily, and share my whole screen, which I think will show the controls that I want to show everybody.
Okay.
So let me try and troubleshoot this that way. See if this will work. Because when in doubt, you try something else. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is make this bigger. Does that kind of help?
Yes.
Hide everything else? Okay, great. So now tell me if it shows the drop down. Does it show my options?
Yes.
Yay. Okay, win. All right, so the microphone has some options here. And as you can see, you can choose which microphone you're going to use. So mine is automatically using my MacBook here. For the speakers, you can do the same thing. So if this is the first time a student's in there, you may want to direct them to this particular little chevron, this little menu item here, and make sure that they test their speaker and microphone. It's a very easy test to run. Yes, I hear the ringtone. How nice. Now I'm speaking.
Yes, I hear the ringtone. How nice.
Okay. So that's the way they're going to test it. So walk them through that in case you can't hear them. The other thing that I want to point out is the video option. So you can choose to have the video. When I first get to know students, I think I'm a very visual person. So I actually ask them to turn their video on at least for a few minutes, but I don't demand it, as I stated before. But you can see as I turn it off, oh, it's going to this one instead of my picture. Usually it'll go to my picture. but you can turn your video icon on and off in this way. And the options here are what video you're going to use. Some people have them embedded in the computer the way I do, and other people may have a webcam that they have to choose from this list. And then you can choose a virtual background. This is probably one of my favorite things. When you see that here, these are the choices that I have. Now, the stock default choices are the Golden Gate Bridge, the tall blades of grass, a little bit of outdoor fun here. And I know you can't see the whole thing when I'm showing it, but here we go. We're out in space. Maybe you're feeling a little spacey that day. Have a little fun with your students. Maybe you're a little stressed and you want to be at the beach. So you want to have your lesson from here, or Aurora Borealis. Now you'll notice I have 3 others here. This is actually a caribou and a landscape from my time in Alaska. So you have the option right here with this little plus sign to add any image that you want. You can add an image or a video to be your background. So customize it and make your personality show. We all have online personas, and I think it's important to be comfortable with those in this new time of working from home and having everything be either hybrid or online completely. For me, I like to have the background of the university that I primarily teach for, because that just keeps it kind of as a professional tone. But you can choose and customize this any way that you like. If you happen to be super advanced with this and have some fun, you can say I have a green screen, and then you'll have that behind you and you can cast all kinds of fun things on that. Another option here is to mirror your video back and forth. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I showed the background options. I really think those are kind of fun. And especially if you're working from home and you've got a lot of mess behind you or things you don't want seen on screen there. So any questions so far? Emily, interrupt me, but I'm gonna keep on going. The security here, you can see that there's a couple options, and it kind of shows things that you had chosen in your settings before you launched your personal Zoom room. So you can see that I don't have the share screen option for everybody available. I do have the chat enabled. That's why you can see the chat right here. I do have an ability to rename participants, and I do have the ability for people to unmute themselves. But if you open the security tab and you say, well, while I'm working with you all, I want, and I have math students, so if they're working in their online curriculum and they're like, I do not understand this problem, miss, I can't get it, and they're trying to explain an equation to me, that can be really challenging. It's better if I actually see their screen, so I know they're not they're learning the new vocabulary. So I can option right here, I can go ahead and click on that next to it, and now all of the participants in my Zoom room have the ability to share their screen as well. So that's all I want to show you on that one. For participants, you can see, hopefully you see that it opens up people over here. Emily, I don't know if you can get in here at this point to kind of see it, but
the password I can.
All right, participants. If you are participants and you haven't invited somebody or given them the room and you're already in the Zoom room, if you open up the invite, like I just did, you can copy the invitation link. You can send it through email, or you can just read it to Emily out loud, which is capital J, lowercase j, W, capital W, sorry, I am like blind woman, capital X, 4, and capital D. Did I say that right? Yeah. All right, so now you can kind of see what it looks like with someone else in the room with me. And I'm going to go ahead and, can you still hear me, Emily? Hopefully yes, my sound still works with Hopin. I'm going to mute this just to keep feedback from happening. Okay, so now that there's someone else in the Zoom room with me, I can click on participants and I can see how I can manage those participants. So you might have a long list of people in here, but notice that to the right of everybody's name, you have some options. You can chat directly with that person. You can ask them to start their video. So maybe you want to see them and you want to prompt them as a reminder that you want them to start their video. You can make them host. So if you want to give over hosting privileges to somebody, maybe I'm sharing a meeting with Emily and I have to step away and she needs the controls. So I would make her a host. And then when I'd come back in, I would be maybe a co-host, or I don't think you can do co-host in the free version actually. Then I could ask her to give me host privileges back if I need them. So this is an option for your participants. You can allow them to record the meeting. You can also rename a person here, and you can put them in the waiting room. Now, the last box, notice it's kind of separated for protection here, I would say. You can remove a person from a Zoom room if they're behaving inappropriately. I would reserve that for very extreme cases, because I have had to do that before because someone was having technical difficulties, and it was when I first started using Zoom. And when I remove them, it creates this hurdle where it's very challenging for them to get back in. So unless you're absolutely certain you will not have that person in a meeting with you ever again, I would hesitate about this particular option. Okay. All right. So that is how you manage your participants. To go back here to the other controls on the bottom, we have the chat option. So if you open up the chat box, hopefully you can see that too. In the chat room, you can choose to text something that everybody in your room will see, or maybe you just want to talk to somebody in specific. You want to say something private. Maybe I just want to say, you know, thanks to Emily only, and not let the whole world know that I'm having this private little gratitude thing with Emily. So this is really good to know for private conversations. Something I want to be very transparent with all of you about is if, as a host at the end of a meeting, you choose to save and download your chat transcript, you will also see the private chats. So I would just, as a professional cautionary tale, let you know that if you are privately chatting with someone, make sure you are keeping it professional, because there is a chance that your host will download that and be able to see what you were saying behind the scenes. So a little heads up on that one. All right, so the chat is very useful. I want to point out not only how to do it, but also as a pedagogical approach. Some students may be having trouble with their headphones or their microphones. So the only way of letting you know that they can hear you is to say, you know, please write your name in the chat. So I always have that be the start of any meeting that I do. Like, before we get started, everybody please write the name in the chat and where you're coming from, just like I had you guys do here in the hop-in session. So it's a great thing to utilize, because then you can start seeing if someone is actually hearing you and you just can't hear them. It helps you kind of be more focused on what their problem-solving needs might be. Okay, so it's a lot in here, right? So many things we can do. So I'm going to try and really focus on the remaining ones here. We've got the share screen option. This is, like I said, my favorite one. So if we share a screen, if I go to share a screen, hopefully, can you see that pop-up box, Emily?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So when I share a screen, there's a couple options. I can share the entire desktop, which is what I had to do to problem solve, not being able to show you those little controls earlier. Then you get to see everything that's on my desktop. You can also choose to do just specific tabs. And the other thing I want to show is this whiteboard. So if I choose to share the whiteboard with you, students can go ahead and write whatever they want on here, right? They can do their names, they can do equations. This is really useful if maybe they are not figuring out how to share a screen, or they don't have something that's online. Maybe they only have something that's on paper and they have to write it out for you. They don't have a document camera to share it. So this is a really useful thing to remember. So when you're ready to stop sharing whatever you share, you see on my screen right here, hopefully it says stop share. And you just click on that and it goes back to the Zoom room. Okay. So screen sharing is a very useful thing to do. And like I said, having your students have that option is really vital. The last thing I want to say about screen share is when I go back in here, if I'm planning to, which I often do, share a video on YouTube or TeacherTube, or even a Zoom video I've created before as a mini lecture that I want to just share, I can share a Zoom recording in a Zoom room. It's my favorite way of actually preparing my lessons for synchronous classes. When I do that, if I'm going to share a screen that has a video, notice this little button down here, you guys. I didn't see this for a while, and I didn't understand why everyone was having a hard time hearing my videos. You have to click Share Computer Sound in order for that to work. All right. Moving on. The reactions, I'm going to jump over record for a second, but the reactions right here are a fun way to interact with people without having to unmute yourself and without having to type in the chat. Someone's sharing something that they're really proud of, you can say, yay, do a little clapping hands, or you can go ahead and say, got it. If someone says, the host says, is everybody understanding me? Maybe you just want to shoot them a thumbs up, and this will eventually fade away. Okay, so the recording options. The recording options here, if I press record right now, I'm recording this brief little segment. It says recording up here in the corner. And when I'm done recording, I press the stop recording. You can also pause it, but I press stop. Now, as you can see right here, it says the recording will be converted when I end the meeting. So I won't know whether or not it's worked until I end the meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and end this meeting. When I end the meeting for all, I get a message that says it's converting the meeting recording. And it shows me what file. I know that's really messy, you guys, because I have all the windows behind it. I'm sorry. But it shows the file that it's going to be saved in. So pay attention to where it is so you can find it later. And I go ahead and press save. And here it is as an MP4 file. So with an MP4 file, I can just click on it. And I'm sorry because I'm not sharing the sound there. But if I click on it here, it actually will go ahead and play the recording with the audio. And that gives you something that you can then grab. So let me go back here to my slideshow and see if I can get this to work properly.
While you're doing that, Eva asked in the chat, do you know how to add a smiley face in the chat box?
Oh, that's a great thing. So even I can't say that I've tried to use an actual emoticon the way we get on our phone or even in some of our email applications. I can say I just use the colon and the parenthesis to indicate a smile, and that's super old school, but that's about the best as I can offer right now. So hopefully you can at least do that until you find something and can share with the rest of us how you figured it out. Okay, so before I go here, sorry. I actually want to show how you can find your video. So again, I mentioned that, I may have to share my whole screen again. I mentioned that I have done this onto YouTube. So I just want to share that because again, I think we have like 3 minutes. I want to show this because I think it's so valuable. As I said, the free version does not allow for transcripts. So how I've gotten around that before is I've gone to YouTube, and I am going to share the screen in a moment. I've gone to YouTube and I've have a YouTube account, and it's very easy to do. And I'm sure you can find a tutorial on it because I'm not going to go over that today in particular. But if you've created yourself a YouTube account, when you're logged into YouTube, as you can see, I am because of my name, I can go to here where it says create. And when I want to create, it lets you upload a video. So all you have to do once you've saved your recording of Zoom into your hard drive, is that showing that? You choose it and upload it from your account. I don't think it's showing the drop down. I can tell you can't see that, but you find it in your files and you upload the most latest video. And when you do that, it'll take a little bit to process, but you can see that I did this one as a practice to show you guys last time. So this is my video that I did, I think, with Emily last night. So the cool thing about this, again, I'm not sharing the sound, but the cool thing about this, when I open that up on YouTube, I think it's not sharing the right screen again. It's like hopscotch over here. Okay, so where did it go? When I do that, this is my YouTube channel, you guys. Not to share that. Where's the Zoom one? Oh, sorry. It is not showing it to me right now. Here we go. So this is the video I made. If I play this for you, I can actually go ahead and have the closed captions. And there's the transcripts that we wanted. So it's super useful if you can find your file, upload it into a YouTube channel, and then you automatically have transcripts, which helps comply with the ADA accommodations that we need for a lot of our students. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to this and wrap this up because we are out of time. When we want to end a session, I just want to remind you what the distance learning support team has to offer. If you haven't already joined myworkplace.com, this is a great place to go and do that. If you have not already requested an NMDelt account and haven't had that yet, please do go ahead and do that. You get a lot of access to the Google Suite tools here, including Nearpod and Screencast-O-Matic. And Emily's going to put that link in the chat right now for anybody who needs that. And the other two announcements I have is the professional development survey that was sent out to everybody. If you haven't done that yet, please take the time to do it. It helps us streamline what all of you need. And there is a motivational coaching for adult education class coming up. So Emily's going to post both of those in the chat as well. And I asked, Emily's going to mention this too. You're still muted, Emily, just so you know. Emily's going to mention this as well. I want to know if there's any questions. I know we're running over time a little bit, and my apologies for that, but I will stick around for any questions if you want to stick around, and ask that you do fill out an evaluation, and I'll let Emily wrap it up. But unmute yourself, girlfriend.
I've got us all in the chat for all of the things Jane mentioned. The evaluation link can be found here for this session. And then with when she mentioned NMDelt accounts, that also will give you a YouTube account. If you do not have a YouTube account, there is one attached to your NMDelt account.
I should know that. That's very good news. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And notice my email at the bottom here. If there's more information you want about Zoom, since this was just the basics, once you get in there and start playing around, shoot me an email. I'll see what I can do to help clarify anything more that you want to know. Was there any other questions at all that came up? Or
no, Eva said thank you. Wendy said, Jane, you are great. She has learned a lot in a short time. So thank you.
Good. That's good news.
And Annalise said thanks for the info. Oh, Elizabeth has a quick question, so we'll wait on hers. I missed what program she was from.
I find this to be such a useful tool, you guys. And even what I've learned now, having to go into the basic to prepare what I know everybody has access to, it still has so much wonderful capacity to it. I know that Google Meet is just as good, and sometimes, honestly, maybe better because of the lower broadband and the availability to our students. So I'm not advocating this over anything. I was just showing what options this has.
Okay, so Elizabeth's question is, can you revisit the optimized sound option for when you're screen sharing?
Sure. Let me log back in here. So what happens generally is once you end a session, you're kind of logged out. So I got to log back in, go to my account, and then I'm going to show how to start that session again by doing it this way, just so you can see the other way of joining it. And then again, I'm probably going to have to share my screen again a different way. Sorry, guys. Like entire screen. Okay.
Okay, now
she's coming back. Sorry, I hear Terry there. So let me see if I can't show you real quick. When we're in the meeting, it looks like it's recording, interestingly enough. When we're in the meeting, the sound options to share your screen. When you pop in here, whatever you're going to choose, if you know you're going to share the sound, it's this little box right here on the bottom left. It says share computer sound. That way it comes through your Zoom meeting as well. Does that answer your question, hon? Did it show it okay, Emily?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
I think that's been a common.
Oh, what have I done? Sorry here. Stop share because now I'm double screening myself. All right, any other questions?
We had a few more thank yous. Other than that, I do not see any other questions.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I'm trying to find my last screen to end on that, but I don't know if I can navigate there so quickly. I'll go back here real quick. There we go. That's the proper end screen to say goodbye with. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much. Enjoy the rest of the Teachers Institute. Thank you for being here. I'll be doing this again tomorrow if you find that you want to look at it again or have some more questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Emily, I'm going to stick around with you until everybody leaves in case they're writing anything down or copying any of the links down. But thank you so much. I appreciate your help.
Oh, no problem. It went really well.
Good. If you have any feedback on things I should change for tomorrow, other than, I don't know, I can't talk faster. I need to talk slower, but there's not enough time to show everything. It's like kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
You want to show as much as possible in the time given. And time goes fast. Everybody's so wonderful in this group. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah. So we are down. I think it's just us and maybe someone, I don't know who's still on here, but there's only 4 of us on here. Oh, it's just us.
Oh, the screen share counts as a person?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, thank you. And the recording was done automatically by the program?
Yes, it shows that it is recording.
Okay. Awesome. Well, see you in the next session. Have fun.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.